We are here at Redrock with Brian. Now, Brian, you guys have, a long time ago, you introduced a very affordable, but still professional wireless ball focus system.
Right.
I love it. I bought one. We use it all the time. It makes Sean's life easier.
Great, thank you.
And that's all what I'm all about. You know, you guys had like this integration that you want to do with iOS devices.
Right.
Yeah, I know that there was some struggle with that. Now you're coming out with something mind-blowing, and I'm really excited about it. Just take us through your new Halo system.
Sure. So, you know, as you mentioned, we've been working on this for quite a long time. You've seen some early attempts at this. I call this our avatar product. We had to wait about 5 years for technology to catch up so that we can actually do the things we're about to show you today. This is the Halo system, and it's designed to solve the challenge of focus, and we call it focus tracking. So we're trying to solve it from anywhere from average people or solo operators who are just like, look, handle all the focus for me, up to professional ACs who are, I know how to focus. I just need better tools and information to do my job better. And like most of us, it's somewhere in between. So we want some combination of manual control and automated control. And that's really what we tried to solve in a Halo system that is going to be incredibly affordable. So this is kind of the heart of it. This is our new focus control interface. You see it's a combination of software and hardware. It's a 3-channel system. I have the zoom controller here. This is my iris. It's got visual, if you want audio, and also haptic response. So there's things that buzz when you're doing certain things you shouldn't. And then of course my focus wheel. So focus is kind of our focus, and you'll notice that I'm actually moving the focus wheel. Of course, I have my wheel itself. I can tell the distance information is there, but also it's showing me visually where that focus is moving back and forth. And it's showing me the depth of field as well. So as I'm moving it further away, the depth of field is growing. And it's a great way to visualize focus and the depth of field.
It's an exponential curve that, you know, you don't always, not everybody realizes. You think you're shooting at f1.4 or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's the same. No, it's a visual depth that happens in that most people that aren't experienced with it might not realize. You're showing it, you're visualizing it right here, which is a great educational tool as well.
Yeah, and so even we've been surprised when we just sort of plug in the math and how it works when we're moving it. You realize like how quickly depth of field, for example, on a wide-angle lens like this 24 grows within a very short period of time. So even we are learning and appreciating kind of some of the nuances around focusing. So the next part of this is we're going to enable a Halo. This is the Halo Explorer. This is the device that sits under the camera. It incorporates the same technology used in cars for collision detection and avoidance. It's real time. There's no preparation. You don't have to tag anything ahead of time. Everything you're about to see is kind of ad hoc. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that. And you'll see on my screen I have 2 objects, the dartboard and our lovely model Larissa. And as she moves around, first of all, this is a very easy way to control focus. So all I need to do is basically keep my line on her, and I can anticipate where she's going. I can also see how the depth of field is interacting. So if it's something a little too shallow, I can actually open up my aperture, because I'm not that good of a focus puller, and be able to actually keep her in focus. I can also use my finger as an interface and just sort of move this back and forth. Let me sort of do it from over here. And again, it's the same idea, but now I'm pulling focus by just moving my finger back and forth. And I don't have to simply drag, I can actually click and actually rack focus, so I can go from the dartboard down to her, up to the dartboard again. And it's a really simple way. Again, I've not employed any automation, but as a tool to get more information and more details about focus, depth of field, and where my actors are, it's a much better tool in terms of getting that job done. The next part is, of course, focus automation. So I'm going to ask Alex to step in. And again, Alex is not prepared in any way, but you can see as he walks on, there's now 2 objects in here. I'm going to go ahead and when I select somebody, this is what we call haloing somebody. So you see she has a bracket around her. And as they move about, we're actually tracking focus and demonstrating that we're keeping them in focus in real time. I can just go ahead and select on Alex, and as they move about, all I need to do is simply, whoop, got an extra one there. I can just click on them, and then it'll actually keep them in focus. So this to me is sort of really radical in a couple of ways. I mean, you think about a simple example of doing a scene where you're having 2 actors kind of hitting their marks. now we don't necessarily need to worry about them hitting their marks. As long as they're sort of, I mean, really wherever they are, but we hope they're close to it, when we select them to halo them, we don't have to worry about whether they're exactly on their mark or not. So it's a little bit of coordination between the focus puller and the actor that no one is really stressed about that. They can focus on their performance, right? The actor's on their performance, the focus puller is really just at the right timing of things. And we think that's a pretty profound change in terms of how people are going to approach this focusing.
All right, so we're seeing these little dots on the screen here representing the people, but there's other geometry, other objects in the scene. What's preventing this from seeing those other objects as people?
So you probably don't see it on camera here, but there's some light stands, there's a chair, there's a podium over here with a bunch of awards on it. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's walls, and we actually don't see that. We only see the three objects. And inside of this is some agent technology where we actually define kind of roughly what is a person. It's a certain size, a certain roundness, they have a certain type of movement. And we, as I mentioned, we also have the second type of object, which is a dartboard. So we're only looking for things that kind of match that type of definition. So right now, all I have loaded are people, and in this case, a dartboard. We envision the ability to add more types of objects like cars, maybe motorcycles, inanimate objects, possibly 3D cues for people who are doing visual effects work, where you can actually have them on the screen. They'll look different, they'll act a little bit different, but you can still halo them and actually reference them in terms of where they are.
Let's say you're doing a car shot and you're hanging out with a gimbal and you're trying to track somebody down the road.
Right, so
focus just on the car.
So for example, there might be a car object. A car obviously would be much larger, and you can also define offsets in there. So maybe we are tracking the car, and it's, you know, would normally sort of track at the level of the back of the car, but our offset would be pushing into the car, maybe 6 feet, 7 feet, so that although it's tracking and knowing what's going on, it's actually putting the focus inside of the car as opposed to at the end of the car.
All right, so we're seeing it locked off here. Can this be used in motion as well?
Absolutely. So our initial proof of concept was done on a gimbal where we had an individual operator running around and pulling focus. And clearly, if it didn't work with people running around on a camera, it'd be pretty limited in terms of how people shoot today.
All right, so, you know, when we first had talked about something similar to this years ago, you were using your rangefinder, which had its limitations, of course. If it's not, the thing isn't directly over that, it can easily pop out of focus.
Right.
You're showcasing that they don't even have to necessarily be in the focus range or anywhere in line of sight, that they could actually be walk on the frame and still be tracked.
Right, so that's a good example of that, but we're not dependent on what the camera sees or anything about the camera in terms of doing this. The Halo Explorer will actually track 180 degrees in front of the camera. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm focused on, I have Halo on Larissa, I'm going to have Alex step out of frame. He's not even in frame right now, and I can actually click and select him and actually move focus so that when he comes in frame on the camera, he actually is in focus. And that's the really nice thing, is you're not dependent on the camera for what it sees or doesn't see. That's true of light, it's true of complete darkness, you know, a lot of other things that is going to make this thing camera and lens independent.
All right, so this is really neat. What kind of power draw, like how portable of a system could you do at this point?
Well, the system itself is really the Halo Explorer and this device here. It's using our current micro remote system, which is a fairly compact, you know, extremely affordable remote focus. There's nothing about this that makes it unique to the Halo system. So we envision supporting other remote focus systems as well, but we're really talking a pretty lightweight, small system.
And so let's go over the components too as well, because we've got, you know, this control interface that your AC would be handling.
Right.
I see a screen over here. Can you tell us what this is?
Yeah, so this is actually an accessory. I'll show you a couple of add-ons that are not required for the system, but a few other bits and pieces that will make it really nice. This is actually our intelligent power distribution system. You're familiar with our power pack that we've had before. This is actually an on-camera system that allows you to do power management and output for anything from USB up to 12 volt. But one of the things it's doing on its interface is it can also tap into the Halo network that we have and display some of the real-time information like a tape would. So as we're actually watching this and I'm moving the focus, it's actually telling you what the specific readout is. This is a nice accessory, certainly not required, but it demonstrates the flexibility of our system, that if you want this type of capability, you can actually get it. Another part of this thing on the network, is we were talking about this before, is this overlay. So this is a piece of technology called HaloCast. We're seeing the live video feed, but overlaid on top of that is all the information from Halo in terms of what we're seeing on the radar, in terms of what we're seeing in the actual focus, the lens, the stop information, and the depth of field availability.
So is this its own wireless transmission? Does it bypass through it? Like what causes these overlays to happen?
Right, so this is actually a product we have. It's an accessory called HaloCast. So we envision, other than people looking at this interface and being able to control focus, you might have someone back at Video Village who's actually pulling the focus, and they typically are looking at a large monitor and they want to see some of this focus information overlaid there. So this is just another way that people can interact with Halo. Certainly not required, but a nice addition. And of course, a lot of people say the creative decisions are made in Video Village, so we're seeing a lot more emphasis on this type of interface.
All right. So all these different components are coming together to make the full system. What kind of price range are you going to have for the different scales?
Right. So this is, at this point, we're really in a preview mode. It's been, I think it's the third day we're actually showing it. We haven't really finalized the delivery and the pricing, but our rough targets are end of this year, and we think the price range is somewhere going to be in about a $2,000 to $5,000 range, kind of depending on the configuration of the components.
And so people like perhaps myself already have a micro remote. I'm assuming that you can buy individual components depending on what you need and what you already have.
Right, so for example, we're actually using the existing micro remote components of the current system, and we're actually just interfacing it with Halo. So one of the things that we're going to do is make Halo available on a priority basis. They'll get, anybody who has a current remote from us will get priority access and shipping first to it, and then kind of everyone else can follow along.
Awesome. You've got this cool new little rig for A7S shooters, or in small camera shooters. I love the A7S. It's a great little camera system, and we love using the micro remote as well. You've got this cool new contraption that combines the best of both worlds here.
So this is the brand new Ultracage Scout. We actually just previewing it here at NAB. It's going to ship in about 45 to 60 days. What's cool about the Scout is it kind of combines, as you mentioned, kind of combines the best of a cage and our remote focus. So what I have here is a little A7S. I've got a finger wheel built into this hand grip here, and the hand grip actually powers everything. And then the base station is actually built into the bottom of the camera. So it's an ultra compact setup. We've kind of got some nice matching handles here, so that I can carry it around as a handheld device. And you can see, again, I'm pulling focus with my finger. And then if I wanted to, I could take this whole setup. It's not very heavy, just mount it directly into a gimbal, turn on my wireless focus, and now I've actually got a kit that's allowing me to do wireless focus on a gimbal. Nothing has changed as far as the camera is concerned.
Is the wireless receiver built into this, or you still have to attach that separately?
Yeah, no, so the receiver itself is actually, you can see, built into the base station. It connects directly to the motor, and although you don't see it here, there's actually a radio antenna built in, so it can actually go wireless. It's wireless ready.
What would you do for the calibration controls then?
The calibration controls, there's actually a button down here where you just press it and it will actually calibrate the lens. And it's designed to be a really simple, straightforward, kind of self-contained rig.
Now I see that you've got some removable screws. Would this be able to work with other cameras on the road?
Yeah, so great question. This is actually designed for kind of any mirrorless camera. There's another arm that goes a little bit higher for DSLR cameras. You can even work with something as big as the C100 Mark II. And it's just a great way to kind of strap something in and then use it with the wireless focus device.
Well, gimbal work aside, sometimes when you're trying to do like even a jib shot or something like that, you want to get the camera on there. Running power uniquely for your wireless controller, you have to get a V-lock or something like that. Right. That can be heavy and cumbersome. I love that this is all self-contained, ready to go either for handheld or whatever additional work you might be doing.
Right, so that was kind of our target, right? Something as simple, self-contained, handheld. It's got a couple different uses.
What kind of battery life would you get out of this?
Well, so far, these are actually lithium-ion batteries built in here, and we've been running it pretty much all day long, every day, with people picking it up and using them nonstop. So we feel pretty confident about the battery life lasting at least a solid day.
Awesome. All right, Brian, we've seen the one-man crew before. Really great tool for interviews and lots of different setups. I understand you have an update to it.
Right, so this is the new one-man crew director. It still retains its heritage from the one-man crew. It's basically a great interview tool to do unattended operation. That's really the key. How do we add movement to a shot without having to require somebody back here actually running the camera? So once again, sort of recap what the one-man crew does, we have it was called our curve, the parabolic slider aspect, which as it's moving back and forth and tracking the person, is keeping the distance to the subject the same, so that means they're going to stay anchored in the frame and staying in focus the entire time, but we don't need to worry about anything that's going on here. So what's new with the one-man crew director is we have sort of all new internals. We've made the motor quieter, we've made the tracks a little bit smoother, so it's going to ride a lot smoother, it's going to be quieter at pretty much any type of speed. We've added a ability to do run stop now, so you can plug this directly into the camera, and from that actually is our remote app. So this is both a tablet and a phone app. I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate that you can start and stop the camera, you can actually reverse direction, we can turn on the record function of the camera all remotely, and not only is this really great for any time somebody is being maybe single camera operator and has a second camera, but if you're doing self camera, like an interview, something like that, where you want to have some nice movement, you don't have to get up and change the camera, you can actually just do this from your remote app and then put it down and conduct your self interview.
Awesome. So new product, what's the availability and price point on this as well?
So shipping right now, it actually has been available for a couple of weeks now. We sell it in now more of a deluxe bundle configuration. It includes the stand adapters, all of the cables, including the AC adapter and the P-tap battery cable. Nice soft case, and the price right now is $24.50.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Brett.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks to our sponsors for making our NAB coverage possible.